Okay, so first video in the series, I'm going to show you how to make a car from start to finish and the logic I use to do so. Just kick things off, I'm going to immediately tap into my inner artist and look for some inspiration with cars around me and things across the board and my surroundings, and identify the elements that make these inspirations appealing to me and why. In my particular case, this comes down to 3 cars. Starting off with this car, the Fiat Abarth 124 Spider. The body style and general size of the Fiat really speak to me here because there's a lot of huge sports cars out there right now. And the idea of a small Italian sports car really speaks to me on a level that most larger GT style cars can't. Like let's say speaking to American examples first, like a Mustang or a Dodge Charger. And for European examples, you can think of something like a BMW M5. Now, really speaking as well to the proportions, this is a small car, small wheelbase, very nimble, and it's most easily comparable to the Mazda MX-5 Miata, because funny enough, Miata actually made the chassis for this car as well. It is similar, but not able to replace the Miata, and that's very important to note. And this car, as well as the Miata, have a notoriously famous, well, not notoriously, but they have a famous fan base that's very dedicated to these cars. And something else I really wanted to emulate is something you can see here. This sort of downward slope in the back end of the car and this rear haunch. That's something I really want to capture because it's something that really speaks to a more classic design language that's sort of been lost over the years. Most cars tend to have a lip that's either it goes straight off the back, or it kind of goes up a little bit, or it makes way for a wing. This is something that's not very common anymore, and frankly I wish it was. But moving on. The Maserati MC20 is a car that really doesn't need a lot of introduction. Like, in my mind, this car is a rolling supermodel, and some of the design language, especially from the front end on this profile here, reminds me of classic British roadster designs like the Factory 5 Cobra, and I think I finally found out why, specifically for the front end in this case. So if you look at the front end, I'm going to really zoom in on this, so forgive the pixelation. It sort of looks like a face, and you can see the basic features like eyebrows, eyes, the nose and mouth, if you will, and a little bit of the cheekbones. And I used the terminology of comparing it to a supermodel very deliberately, and let me just pull up an image here. You can see how there's a lot of carryover. So again, you have a sort of eyebrow that carries some weight in the design. You have cheekbones, actually. Let me trace this out for you so you can more easily see it. So you have a similar cheek structure here. You have this shape, if you will, and it blends into the jawline. I'm extrapolating here just so you can see a little more pronounced. Similar deal here, so same basic shape, as you can see. And I'm not going to go into proportions, that's a whole different science, and I just don't really want to get into it, but you can see where there's a lot of carryover. It's a very Italian design. This was very clearly made by somebody who was Italian. But I digress. Something else I really wanted to point out is the side profile of this car, which is very interesting and very uncommon in cars I've personally seen, at least. and how it looks like there's a... I'll pull out the snipping tool again, because this does require a little bit of demonstration. They've done something interesting here with the coloring on the lower half of this car, and I'm just speaking to what's below this line right now. Classic cars, specifically in the mid-century, did this thing with the doors and the side panels where they didn't go straight along the car and meet the ground at a perfect perpendicular angle. They kind of tucked under. So think of the something like a Factory 5 again, and a Jaguar E-Type, which is a reference that I'll get to later. They did something interesting here because this car still does meet the ground at a perpendicular angle, but the coloring of this car plays with your brain, and it sort of tricks you into thinking that this isn't the body panel, but it is. You can see how this door carries all the way through to the ground. But what's interesting here is, again, it tricks your brain into thinking that the car does not reach the ground in this particular area, and as such it gives the illusion that this body panel is curving inwards, sort of like how it would on the side of a classic car, something mid-century, something that is a little bit more elegant than modern cars tend to be in their design language. And granted, there's a good reason for that. It's because of aerodynamics, it's because of stability, it's because of downforce, and especially since this is a hypercar slash supercar, it makes sense that they would use the utmost technology that they have at their disposal, and this does make sense for that. But it is a nice touch, and it is something that I very much do want to borrow, especially how it kind of licks up at the bottom here. That's very indicative of classic sports cars, classic roadsters, and they do a little bit in the front too, with the coloring of the front grille, but not as pronounced. Like, it sort of looks like the front end is floating. I do want to try and emulate that somehow, but I digress. But given that we are making a roadster, something that's not going to be a hypercar or a supercar, certainly not something that's going to be a mid-engine layout, and something that's going to be more comparable to mid-century classic roadsters. That's about all that we're going to take from this car, more from a process of elimination. So, moving on to the last car that I'm really going to take a heavy emphasis from. The Jaguar F-Type, specifically from the 2017 era. I know this is the 2018 era when they did a facelift and they did a tune to the car that got rid of the crackles and pops from the Type R variant, but I digress. Now, the 2017 Jaguar F-Type, first off, RIP Jaguar, please bring this back. There's something I've always loved about this car, aside from the front, which is, in my opinion, one of the best emulations of classic design that I've ever seen, period. Aside from maybe the Dodge Challenger, but that's a big maybe. For lack of better words, it's the ass. So, I don't know who was in charge of designing the back end of this car, especially in the convertible version, but they absolutely nailed this. And more specifically, I need to bring out my snipping tool again, because I am too lazy to bring this into paint. Something that is very evident in the original Jaguar E-Type is it has a clean line that goes from front all the way to back, and that's still the case here. You have a very clean line going from right around here-ish, and it goes straight back, and it curves up and down, and it terminates at roughly the same point as the majority of this line, so right around there. Now, these rear haunches are... Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, this body line carries very cleanly, very consistently along the entire front end, through the door, carries over the door, carries over this haunch slash shoulder, whatever. And I'm going to show you down here as well. And it very nicely follows this line right here. And it tapers inward. And it creates this almost flat surface on the shoulder. And that flat surface carries downward into this area right here. And that's something that I think is very unique to Jaguar, and it's something I've always loved. And if this was the convertible as well, it would be even more pronounced, because it would be almost a downward sloping tabletop that you can run water off of. Although there is a adaptive aero component in the back, so please don't do that. Again, I love this car. It does the same thing in the back where it kind of tricks your eye with the coloring down here. So again, that is something I want to emulate as well. Jaguar, please just make this car again. But in either case, there's some design elements that I've taken here and there from other cars as well. But in the end, this is ultimately why I ended up with. Now, there's a lot of markings here that are frankly just straight up math I'm not going to bore you with. And this is just something that I made with a pencil and paper on grid paper in a sketching notebook that I have. And importantly, where's my calculator? So this car is about 28 spaces long, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm going to show you how large this is divided by the scaling factor, because we are adults here. That puts us right in the range of, oh, I deleted it. That puts us right in the range of the Fiat, which is, I believe, 2 inches shorter than this, and same deal in the lateral direction. I'm not going to do the math there, but it's somewhere around 800 millimeters. From the middle to the outwardmost part. And I'm not going to go into this with a fine-tooth comb. You can have like an art appreciation major, or somebody ideally who knows what they're doing. I'll let Frank Stephenson fill that role should he ever choose to notice me. Frank, please notice me. But regardless, I'll finish off by just showing roughly how I'm going to sort of lay out these reference profiles. I don't know if you can call this a blueprint because it's not very official. And yeah, just lay down the references and scaffolding in CATIA, and I'll just shut up and let the work speak for itself. Or maybe I won't, I don't know. Okay, so I just realized I forgot to mention something. So before I did go into the program, I did want to point out another design element that draws a little bit of inspiration from the Alfa Romeo 33 Stradale, and specifically with regards to the headlights. I like how like dramatic, if you will, these two-piece headlights are. And granted, all Alfa Romeos are different. Most of them are, or not most of them, but not all of them have the double light headlights. Some of them have one, some of them have two, like this one. And I like the two headlight design where it swoops very dramatically close to the ground, almost, what's the word? Almost like it's blending into the front bumper. So you can see that here in the front, where it's doing sort of the same thing, but it's picked a little bit more off the ground. Getting a little bit of room to breathe. Drawing a little bit more from the direction of the F-Type and the Maserati MC20. So yeah, again, just wanted to point that out. And yeah, beautiful car. Alright, well, I'm pretty much just gonna stop talking and let the computer do its thing. Well, let myself do the thing, and you watch what I do on the computer. Yeah, feel free to get yourself a nice Snuggie, some kind of tea, coffee, hot chocolate. I don't know. I don't judge. Boba. And yeah, not sure where this is going to get put up. Not sure how much I'm going to dice this up and put into sections, but like, subscribe, I don't know, follow what program this is going to go, or what website it's going to go up on. Probably not going to go up on Instagram, to be honest. Probably YouTube and LinkedIn, probably, because I'm still broke and I'm still looking for a job. So yeah, if you want to hire me, definitely do reach out, DM me or whatever. And yeah, just sit back, relax, enjoy. Turn off the audio because I was listening to some random lore video. I think it was on Five Nights at Freddy's for some reason. And then it went on to something that was hosted by Simon Whistler. I don't exactly remember what it was because for some reason I already deleted the audio for this file. But it was like really engrossing for some reason, and it just kept me going. And I think somewhere around the half-hour mark, I was also listening to something by Colum M. Guinness, who, by the way, super underrated. Made a Warhammer-inspired album, so that was really, really interesting to listen to. Also listening to a lot of Donut Media because, of course, this is a car. I'm making a car. Of course, I'm listening to car channels. And, of course, how Volkswagen and all of the German companies are somewhat in a downturn right now, but, you know, I digress. Like, if somebody offered me a German car, I would still probably drive it. So, definitely not going to judge there. Honestly, I'm more interested in Italian cars. I don't know, they look good. They have a different vibe to them. Although I wish they would learn a little bit more from Japanese cars because of their reliability. And I definitely understand why there's a cult following behind those kinds of cars. Anyways, I'm just gonna shut up and yeah, enjoy. Like, subscribe, follow. Not sure why I'm still talking, to be honest. I don't know. I think I'm gonna go on a run. Maybe do some squats. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. Gotta stay healthy, you know. Anyways, cheers.